Good morning, hockey fans. Data here with breaking news in the NHL this morning, Saturday, December 14th, as Cam Fowler, the veteran defenseman of the Anaheim Ducks, has been traded to the St. Louis Blues in a deal that will likely bring back a pick and a prospect. Not yet determined what the exact return will be. If you're watching after we go online, I'm sure you know what it is. But at this time, Cam Fowler has been traded by the Ducks, the veteran defenseman who's played almost 1,000 games in Anaheim. Let's start breaking it all down. Instant reaction and analysis here on the channel. Let's get to it. So first, who is Cam Fowler and who are the Anaheim Ducks acquiring? Before we look into what the Ducks are doing, what both the game plans are, what both the salary caps are, and all that, the cap hits and what it means for the organization, let's just think about the player himself. Welcome everybody to the stream this morning. Thanks for joining me. Hope that you all had a lovely evening of rest. So Cam Fowler, in Jay Fresh's words right here, acquired by St. Louis, is a puck-moving defenseman. That's kind of what St. Louis needs to be paired with Colton Parayko. He has played way too many minutes in Anaheim and has been brutal defensively so far this season, has struggled defending the rush especially, but has one of the most accurate stretch passes in the game. All right, that's cool. No physicality. So Cam Fowler at this point in his career at 32 years of age, I don't know if he should really still be playing the minutes that he has played in his career. In his career, if you look at average time on ice, he's been a 24-plus minute guy in his career, 2017, even 2023, 2024. I wouldn't want to see these numbers if I'm a Ducks fan necessarily. I wouldn't want to be seeing those numbers at this point in his career. He shouldn't have to be dogging it out there playing that kind of ice time, but he is. This year's the first little drop at 21:04 in ice time, but we'll break down ice time in just a minute. Let's continue breaking down who the player is. Cam Fowler, over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data, is in the 14th percentile projected wins above replacement in the National Hockey League for defensemen, that is. Even the strength defense is above average at 58 in the 58th percentile. Even the strength defense is quite well below average at the 26th percentile. Power play, penalty kill, don't worry about that. I doubt he's played enough to really tell you. More the power play at least, but penalty kill, that's concerning. 77th percentile of finishing. Again, don't worry about that too much. He's not really doing a lot of finishing. Goals, again, don't worry about that. Primary assists per 60 minutes over the course of 3 years weighted average data, as Jay Fresh says, one of the most accurate stretch passes in the game, which has brought him above league average. Okay. He draws a lot of penalties. He plays against high levels of competition, and he plays with decent levels of teammate. That being said, over the last 3 years from 2021-22, he's dropped from close to the 75th percentile, something around the 70th percentile in the league, down to like the trenches below the 25th. And now this year, probably into somewhere in the 10th-ish percentile. The offense has declined steadily, which is understandable at his age and on a not so great Anaheim Ducks team. But to see the defense drop from well above average, somewhere in that 65th percentile to 25th, and then stay steadily at that 25th. This is possibly who the new Cam Fowler is. We don't have the trade just yet. It sounds like it's going to be a pick and a prospect coming back. So for those of you who are asking, we don't have a return just yet, but it sounds like a pick and a prospect going to Anaheim in exchange for Cam Fowler. If you look at the micro stats now from last season, the overall defensive results were fine at 5v5, but they've cratered this year, according to Jay Fresh. So last season, the numbers aren't horrible, but as we just saw in the declining graph, things are getting worse, sadly, for Cam Fowler at this time. Why would the Blues do this? We'll break that down in a moment. But Cam Fowler last season was in the 63rd percentile of even strength of defense wins above replacement. At least there's that. And there's a lot of things that he does well. Don't get me wrong. Cam Fowler is not just a husk of himself, but he's having to play minutes that are above his head at this point in his career. That's what I'm trying to say. He's still up there for exit possession rate, exit success rate, pass exits, defensive zone shot assists, possession entry prevention, success per possession play, rush offense, a few things you see in the Blues, but you can't throw away the Reds where entry chance prevention, 0. Whoa. Hits, 6th. No physicality for a guy who plays 24 minutes. Retrieval success, okay, below league average. And then you look at other stuff like assists and goals, whatever, I'm not really as concerned with that. And if we go over to expected goals for versus expected goals against on 5v5, look where Cam Fowler sits in the entire, not the entire league, but I'm not sure how many defensemen get thrown into this graph, but just look at this. Not only is he definitely one of the worst, he is an outlier as one of the worst. He has negative offense and negative defense. Well, I mean, his offense brings him up a little bit, but expected goals per 60 has him way back here, and expected goals for, sorry, I may have mixed myself up. Expected goals against per 60 is at the bottom at around 4, and expected goals for per 60 is just above this line at 2.4, around 2.5. So at least he's not in this bottom left corner, but he really stands out as an outlier at this point. And if we look at this graph over here, Cam Fowler, this was against the Senators on December 11th. Interesting. Jacob Trouba and Cam Fowler got to witness that for a couple of games. Anyways, so that's what we see about Cam Fowler right now. This is really not an anti-Cam Fowler campaign. I love Cam Fowler. I think he's a good defenseman. It's just he's having to play over his head on a not great team, and the numbers are going to reflect that, sadly. So if we start looking a bit now, why would the Blues have done this? Jay Fresh adds a little bit of thoughts, and we'll get into our own thoughts and my own thoughts after that. I have to figure, says Jay Fresh, that the Blues decided they needed a puck mover for Parayko. Ryan Suter and Colton Parayko has been horrible. 400 minutes of on ice time together, 38% goal share, 40% expected goal share. Leddy and Parayko has been the worst regular pairing in the NHL the past 3 years, as we see their own goal share and expected goal share. So essentially, Parayko is still their top guy. The Blues love Parayko for good reason. He's on Team Canada and everything on that right side, and they need someone to pair with him on the left side. Suter has not worked. Leddy has not worked. Now it's going to be Cam Fowler, who's only going to be there pretty much for just 1 year. Oh, the return just came through. Fantastic. Let's look at the return. The return came through, and it's going to be a 4th-round pick. Sorry, it's Fowler and a 4th to St. Louis for a 2nd and a minor league prospect. So the minor league prospect is likely just a contract being tossed in there. It's essentially a 4th for a 2nd, and Cam Fowler, I don't know if I'd call him a cap dump because the Ducks don't need to dump cap, but the Blues acquire someone who can hopefully help the left side. And they do it for only having to swap a 4th for a 2nd. And even that Cam Fowler would be coming at 38.5% retained. So instead of having a 4th defenseman making $6.5 million, that would be pretty funny. Instead of having a 4th $6.5 million defenseman, and I guess it kind of speaks to, on the Blues side, I don't think they're confident in Torrey Krug coming back anytime soon, especially not this season, but I'm not sure if they're super confident about even next season. And it also speaks to the confidence that the Anaheim Ducks have with Pavel Mintyukov, excuse me. They have enough confidence in Mintyukov to take over that top left side alongside Jacob Trouba. So Trouba and Mintyukov is your top pair. That allows your second pair to be whatever, Gudis and Dumoulin, wherever you want to do it. And that leaves Lacombe and Zellweger to fill out the bottom pair or whatever else you might want to do. So I like the defensive core for the Ducks. I like that you're getting value for Cam Fowler. But at the same time, Cam Fowler is I believe he's 2nd in all-time games played as a Duck, and he's also 5th in all-time points as a Duck. The former 12th overall pick in 2010. He's been a real trooper. I love Cam Fowler. He's put in his time here in Anaheim, one of the greatest players in franchise history. Whether it, forget about his defensive woes and his point-ish issues at time. He's been a King Clancy nominee. He's gotten Norris votes only once, I understand. I'm not trying to say he's on that Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry level, Timo Solani, Scott Niedermayer level. Don't get me wrong. But if you think about the top 20 Ducks in the last 30 years, Cam Fowler is absolutely in there, right? So I'm seeing some thoughts from all of you here in the comments. Let's jump over to this. I'd have kept Fowler over acquiring Trouba. So I guess it's something to do with the left side and the right side. I think there's a big difference between those for the Ducks right now, since they have Zellweger, they have Mintyukov, they have Lacombe all on the left side. So I guess moving out a left-handed defenseman is what they had to do more. So then have to worry about bringing in a right side defenseman, right? So yeah, I guess the Blues are buying. The Blues are buying at this point. And you know what? I say why not? If it's going to help Colton Parayko and it comes at the cost of only having to flip a 2nd for a 4th, I say why not for St. Louis? You need better stability on that left side. I'm okay with that. Lunchbox, one of our resident Blues fans, says, I'm on board for this. We aren't confident in Krug, even if he was 100%. So there you go. Makes sense. I think it does make a lot of sense for the Blues. Maybe you might say the timing's odd. Let's pull up the standings, right? I don't think the timing is necessarily too crazy because St. Louis Blues, right? This is a team that has won the Stanley Cup from the back as of like this time of the year. When they won the Stanley Cup, they were in last place in the league at this time of the year. So if you look at the standings, look at the wild card, the St. Louis Blues, yeah, they're currently not looking great, 14-2. But if there's ever a time to make a push as the Flames start to cool off, the Avalanche are struggling, the Canucks have been good. But if there's ever a time to try and make a push right now in this mix of Western Conference teams, it's probably right now, because all these teams below them, as good as fun as the Sharks have been, the Sharks aren't seriously competing for a wild card spot this year. So I think everyone from St. Louis up is in the conversation of competing for the postseason. And the St. Louis Blues, if they want to be more involved in that conversation, they need more confidence on their left side, because Suter Parayko has been horrible. Letty Parayko has been the worst pairing in the NHL the past 3 years. Now they get to try Fowler Parayko, and we'll see what happens, because Parayko's results have also been horrible away from those two, but that's a different conversation. Fowler does some stuff that Parayko can't. He moves the puck up the ice, and Parayko does lots that Fowler can't, as in defending the rush, defending in general, and being 6'6". I see the vision, but a wrinkle here is that Broberg and Perunovic seem like promising puck movers as well. So that's over on St. Louis's side on their defensive core. So maybe Broberg moves up. Could that be? So Colton Parayko over here, the carry exits per 60 versus the pass exits per 60. Colton Parayko's over here. Perunovic and Broberg, they're looking very good over here as well, right? So if we go over to St. Louis Blues core right now, Falk on the right side, you put Fowler on the left side. Colton Parayko on the right side, Fowler on the left side. Second pair, you have Falk on the right, I guess Broberg on the left, but Broberg and Perunovic have been playing together, if I'm not mistaken. That leaves the third pair to be what? P.O. Joseph and now Ryan Suter, perhaps. So yeah, Jay Fresh, not Jay Fresh, Lunchbox saying here, just look at their last 10 with Monty, totally different team and compete level. Add in a little bit of reinforcements on the blue line, and especially that left-handed defenseman for Colton Parayko that we've been looking for. If I'm St. Louis, then I'm not necessarily confident in the playoffs, but I'm a lot more invested in this Blues team becoming contenders. You see the difference in what I'm saying? I think I have much more faith in this Blues team competing for the 2025 postseason with Cam Fowler on the top pair with Colton Parayko. Is he a top pair defenseman anymore? I don't think so. But as we just read right here, they complement each other well in theory. Now, will they actually complement each other? We'll find out. But in theory, Parayko and Fowler would be a complementary D pairing. Wild card at best this season, just based on what I've seen. Makes sense. Thank you, Lunchbox. So I like this deal for the Blues. Do we know what the return is yet for the prospect coming back? We don't hear anything on that yet. Cam Fowler, yes. What else do we have? This adds up. So past 5 games, Broberg Parayko has been the top pairing for the most part for 76 5-on-5 minutes, but with the same poor results, which is probably why they made the trade. Jay Fresh saying this adds up. Broberg Parayko have been outshot and outchanced horribly in their minutes together so far. Blues maybe saw that as a tryout and decided Broberg's not ready for it yet. And that's fine. Let Broberg continue on the second pair or wherever else it might be. Give Fowler the Parayko minutes. And this is probably something that they can not necessarily say it's a slam dunk guarantee, but it's something we can have a bit more faith in as a band-aid over the end of this season and into next season. So yeah, unexpected for the Blues, but now that I'm reading all this, I think it makes a lot more sense in terms of, okay, I see why they would have done it and why they've waited up until this point. So they flip a 4th round pick, and so it costs them a second, and they get back a 4th. And retain a 38.5%. I like this if I'm St. Louis. I wonder if I refresh Puck PDF, it would be here yet. No, not just quite yet. So 38.5% retain. Let's break out the calculator. 6.5 times, what's 30? So 61 points, sorry, minus 38.5. So 61.5, yeah, 61.5 times 6.5. Okay, that took a long time. So he's making 4 million. Sorry, that took me a bit too long to calculate. Essentially, he's making 4 million to end this year and go into next year. Does St. Louis have that money? Yes, they do. With the LTIR pool and all that, no problem if I'm St. Louis. Deadline cap space, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's okay for St. Louis, especially if Corey Krug is going to be staying on LTIR. So Cam Fowler essentially waived his trade clause, or the Blues are one of the 4 teams that he could be traded to. And now the Ducks will roll with more confidence in Mintyukov, in Zellweger, etc. And I think that makes sense too. If we look over at Pavel Mintyukov, he's been playing big minutes here in Anaheim as well, especially this most recent stretch of 5 games, 24.5, 18.5, 19.5, 20.5, almost 18 here. So he continues to play big minutes, 18.51 last year, 20.36 on average this year. Mintyukov can be trusted for more minutes, and Cam Fowler, who is a franchise legend, one of the top 15 or 20 Ducks of all time, you would think, he moves on to St. Louis. Thank you for your time here in Anaheim. 991 games played as a Duck, scoring 96 goals and 457 points. A negative 129, unfortunately, in his career. But you know what? He didn't take too many penalty minutes. For a guy who played huge minutes like that, for a guy who played 2,300 minutes on the Anaheim Ducks, he took only 261 penalty minutes. So how many minor penalties is that? It's not that many. Over 100 minor penalties. All right. 1,363 blocks over his 82 game career average. He's blocked 113 block shots per 82 games played. Not very physical, though, as we see. Only 2 hits this year. 17 games, 2 hits from Cam Fowler. Takeaways and giveaways, it's always going to be a bit different there. But he's received Calder votes. He's received Lady Bing votes ×3. He's received some All-Star votes, Norris votes, like we said previously. And in the playoffs, where are the playoff numbers here? Playoff possession? No, playoff extra stats. So in the playoffs, he's played 62 games in the postseason in his career. Hasn't been there since 2016-17. Ouch. So no playoffs since 2017. 33 points in 62 games in the playoffs, though. So he's been like a 40-point pace kind of guy in the playoffs. Whereas in the season, per 82 games, he scores 38. Okay, so yeah, maybe just a little bit higher. Maybe going too deep on Cam Fowler's numbers here. But there you go. Do we know the prospect coming back yet to the Ducks? No, prospect TBD. No. So essentially, it's Cam Fowler at $4 million to end off this year and next year, with a 4th-round pick from Anaheim going to St. Louis in exchange for a second and a prospect who's TBD. Gotcha. Still waiting on who that last name is going to be, though. I don't want to sit here all day just for a random prospect. Mighty Joe, do we have a look at Puckpedia for Blues prospect and try to figure out which prospect is moved? Sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just some contract and not actually like a real prospect per se. 270 video says in favor of the move for St. Louis, especially with the salary retention. Yes, agreed. The second isn't nothing, but we've done a decent job at rebuilding the prospect pool the past few drafts. Glad it's not a 1-year deal. So that's it. To flip a 4th for a second. Sorry, to give up a second and take back a 4th for a guy who's going to be playing for the next year and a half, that's okay by me. The prospect here, thank you, Vasi. Jeremie Biakabutuka. Let's pull that up. Give me just a moment. I don't mean to be a casual, but I don't know who that is. Jeremie Biakabutuka. Here we are. So the prospect going back to the Anaheim Ducks is Jeremie Biakabutuka, as he's from Longueuil in the beautiful, beautiful province of Quebec. So yet to play any NHL minutes, and he's played only 5 games in the AHL in his career. So I would say this is a guy who never makes the NHL, most likely. He was a signed by the Blues in 2023. So it's been a year and a half that he's in the Blues organization. And his last year in the QMJHL was solid enough, 42 points in 56 games as a right shooting defenseman. Went to the AHL in Grand Rapids, played 3 games, didn't do much. ECHL, 18 points in 63 games. 2 games in the AHL since, doing nothing. And this year, in 13 games in the ECHL with Florida, has 1 goal, 3 assists. So I call this the definition of just a contract move. So Jeremie Biakabutuka, I think I remember seeing him in franchise mode at one point in a draft years ago, since he was draft eligible at that time. Just that name is ringing a bell here. Yeah, not really a part of the deal, but rather just a contract going the other way. It's still value. It's still something, but it's the equivalent. I'd rather take a 7th-round pick, probably. No offense to Jeremie Biakabutuka, but at 22 years of age, putting up those numbers in the ECHL, I would say it's nothing to write home about. So here's the official full trade for you now, ladies and gentlemen. I have his autograph from Prospect Camp in 2023. That's hilarious. That's really something. Good for you, 270. So here's the full trade now, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining, here it is. The St. Louis Blues acquire Cam Fowler at $4 million to end off this year and into next season to play top left pair with Colton Parayko, and a 4th-round pick, year to be determined, from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a 2nd-round pick, year to be determined, and Jeremie Biakabutuka, who is an ECHL 22-year-old defenseman. There you go. I like it a lot for St. Louis. It's reinforcing your team without having to take a huge gamble. Is Cam Fowler worth $4 million is the next question. I think he is. I think that he's been very bad as of late. But again, I'm very interested to see what this complementary pairing might do, where you have Cam Fowler, who moves the puck and isn't physical, versus alongside Colton Parayko, who doesn't move the puck and is physical. As Luke is asking, is Cam Fowler worth $4 million? So it's not been great as of late. His numbers have cratered, especially this season. But I think that also speaks to Anaheim having more reliance and wanting to give more ice time and more opportunities to Pavel Mintyukov, to Olen Zellweger, to all those guys. They bring in Jacob Trouba, who can kind of be that top guy, veteran guy, your rock on the blue line, type of thing whenever the kids aren't working out. And then Cam Fowler can be moved out. You have more room on the left side to breathe. And now the Blues take back a left-hand defenseman who they desperately need with the uncertainty surrounding surrounding Torrey Krug, and the reality that both Suter and Leddy in the past, and even now, what's his name, Philip Broberg, have not been great partners for Colton Parayko, who they have committed long-term to and won't be moving on from anytime soon. As he signed on for 4 more years with a no trade clause at $6.5 million. He's their big Team Canada defenseman. He's great. Colton Parayko, despite not having a great partner, does what he does well. Now let's get a complementary piece beside him and see what happens. Yeah, most players would be bad on the Ducks anyways, as Lunchbox says. We got to be fair as well. Is Cam Fowler worth a second-round pick? Straight up, no. But at 38.5% retained, with a 4th-round pick going back, yes. If I'm taking a 4th back and I'm getting Cam Fowler at close to 40% retained, then yes, I would say he's worth a 2nd-round pick, especially considering my organizational needs. I think that's the assessment that the Blues are making for themselves at this point. Now, in the Blues organization, they didn't have to give up anyone big on defense, really. There's Biakabutuka. There he is. So no longer there, but they still have they have a lot of defense here. They have Adam Yurchek, especially Theo Lindstein. Yeah, the Blues are solid defensively for their future. And they also don't need to be too desperate too soon, as yes, these guys are aging, but Broberg now here at 23. You got, soon enough, you have to get these guys called up because Falk's 32, Parayko's 31. Yeah. So not this year, not next year, but coming soon, you got to have defense in the system. And that's where these guys are coming in. Cam Fowler, not super old, but no spring chicken either at 33 years of age. He just turned 33 as well. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there is the deal here. Breaking news in the NHL this morning. Hope that you enjoyed the quick little breakdown of it all. We're always live for breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey, so subscribe, hit that bell to not miss out on any notifications, as well as all of our NHL 25 series. Speaking of our franchise mode series, the next episode of our NHL 07 Dynasty mode series coming your way later this morning, actually probably into this early afternoon, so don't forget to check out that. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and of course, also leave a comment. Who do you think wins this trade and why? Does it make sense for either side? And what are you looking forward to seeing from the Ducks or the Blues with this deal having been made? I think it's exciting for the Blues because they're saying, listen, we're not done yet. And for the Ducks, it's saying, hey, we're going to start relying on our younger guys a little bit more. And it's time to move on from Cam Fowler, get a little value back for him. I think getting a 2nd is okay with a salary retention and giving up a 4th. If I'm Anaheim, I'm okay with saying, listen, Cam, we love you. We're going to get a 2nd for you. We trade a 4th and we just move on. Thanks for everything. And our younger guys will take over from here. I think that makes sense. So thanks, everybody. Have a lovely Saturday, and we will talk soon.